All right. Do the call to order for the Finance Committee. And I don't have my thing here, but this is being recorded and your voice may be heard. All right.
All right,
Started.
we'll try to go quick here because we've already talked about these.
Yes.
This is the warrant, final warrant articles that you need to vote on first, which would be Article 10, the CPA FY22 transfer of funds as discussed by Tim Wheeler at last week's meeting.
Or 2 weeks ago.
Was that 2 weeks? I'm
Yes,
sorry,
we
you're
didn't-
correct. The capital improvement plan. Your motion would be for $911,898 from free cash and $880,000 from the Public Safety Stabilization Fund for the FY24 capital improvement plan.
So moved.
And seconded.
All right. Any further discussion on this? All right. Roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
Okay. And Article 14 is the cable PEG spending. This is the annual budget for cable access in the amount of $78,640 for FY24. That amount, I think, was not in there previously. Now it is, thanks to June. So $78,640 is their recommended budget for FY24.
So moved. Article 14, Cable Access Committee, PEG spending.
Seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
Okay, we'll go down to the next one. Now we're going way down again. Now we are going to Article 21. This is the Community Preservation Act FY24 budget. So I'll read it again just for expediency's sake. Appropriations from FY24 estimated revenues for committee administrative expenses, $30,473.90. For budgeted reserve, $396,161.70. And reserves from FY24 estimated revenues, that would be $60,947.80 from housing, the same from historic, and the same from open space.
That's 4 going into.
Yes,
Not
sorry,
from.
what did I say?
From.
From, I meant for, my apologies.
Yep.
Thank you.
So moved.
And I second that.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. Roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
Okay. And then the next item is Article 22, Community Preservation FY24 project, the acquisition of 72 Carter Street. That is for a total of $350,000 coming from community preservation funds and $50,000 coming from the Housing Partnership Mitigation Fund, which is an old fund for housing that was supposed to be built affordable, but they actually paid in lieu of building affordable. Remember we talked about that? We weren't sure what that was, Janet? So that's what that additional $50,000 is. So this article would be to appropriate and transfer $125,000 from the FY 2023 CPA budgeted reserve for 6.5 acres of land at 72 Carter Street. And there's another $50,000, although they've cut this down, which is interesting.
I thought, didn't they say that they weren't going to get the house after all and we're just going to try to get the parcel of land?
That's where it says
Yes.
6.5 acres of the 8.85 parcel. So they've taken 2 acres out of that
Yep.
for the lot.
So what he did was he revised it, but he just didn't take the $50,000 on the housing partnership line out
Yeah,
of the
it's
description.
not.
So I will remove that from the description.
Mhm.
So now it is solely $125,000 for the acquisition of the acres, 6.5 acres at 72 Carter Street. And that is to be put in a conservation easement held by the Conservation Commission. I've got to fix that 8.5 to 6 as well.
So they're only, so, I'm so confused.
It's just the
Hold on.
land, not the house.
And $125,000 for just the land.
Correct. And that's gonna be put in a conservation restriction.
So moved.
And I'll
Seconded.
fix the language.
Yeah, the language is confusing, but I know you'll fix it.
Yep. I will
Okay,
fix that.
any other discussion on it?
We've talked about this till we're blue in the face and I still don't understand it.
Well, it keeps changing.
It changed, I know, I think I get it and then,
So
moved.
it's changed, so now it just doesn't include the house, basically.
All right, roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
All right, and then the next article would be Article 23, the Community Preservation Pavilion. That is $150,000 from CPA budgeted reserve for the pavilion at South Common.
So moved.
And seconded.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
Okay, and I think this is the last one, Article 24, transfer funds to general stabilization. Voting to transfer $307,329 from free cash to general stabilization, which has a current balance of $1,397,614.
Can you repeat the number?
307,729.
So moved.
And seconded.
So that's 10% of free cash
Yep.
per your policy.
Yep. Yep.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call. Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
That's it.
Woo-hoo!
Sorry, I know that was fast, Julie. If you want me to
Well,
look at anything,
actually,
I can.
what I'll do is I'll just want to make sure that the titles match up with the article numbers because we had this happen last year that as the warrant changed,
Yep.
what we voted on didn't match the numbers.
And that's why I typically don't like to put numbers until the very end, but yeah, so
So-
they should hopefully be.
So I won't
same, but
send
we'll
out
check.
I won't send out these minutes tonight.
Yep,
They'll come out after I can double check against the warrant.
okay,
That's
perfect.
it.
And
It's-
if you want me to look at anything, let
Yeah.
me know, so. Thank you. Okay, so that takes care of the warrant. There's one other small piece of business. I realize the FinCom never took a vote on one line item in the budget, which is the health insurance line item.
Because we were waiting to see what was going on with that. Any good news?
Correct. I have good news, but doesn't change anything. So the IAC did vote unanimously to adopt a $257.50 deductible plan, which is huge. It offers the town a savings of will bring the town a savings of $33,000. However, we've had so many new people get on the plan in the past couple of months that the small amount of cushion that's there in case anyone new comes on is gone. So I'm not comfortable reducing that budget line item because there is no room right now if anyone new were to come on in FY24. So my recommendation is to leave the budget for that line item as it stands, and I'll give you the number if you give me just a moment. So that is line item 109 in the budget. It is Chapter 32B insurance, and the recommended number is $734,825.
You mentioned there's been a number of people coming on. Is it because of the churn of the number of new people?
There's new
Wow.
people. There's also some people who, for whatever reason, maybe they don't have insurance to their spouse anymore through a layoff or a job change or what have you that have gotten on our insurance.
And we also finally have full highway and the police is
Yes.
almost.
We had several positions open that have been unfilled for
Yes,
us.
I know there's been a lot of new faces that have been added, so.
Smiling, hopefully,
Yes.
new faces.
Some of them
So
are-
moved.
And seconded.
All right, any,
So the action was not to take an action then?
You hadn't voted on that line item yet.
Oh, we hadn't voted at all. Oh,
Nope.
okay.
We were holding just to see what happened with the insurance advisory committee
Sorry, I missed
in
that.
hopes that maybe we could reduce it, but after looking at the 23 numbers, it does not appear wise to do so.
Okay.
Kristen, was that line 109?
109.
Line 109, yep.
And the amount I think was 734, 825.
That's the
Correct.
one.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, we just can't hire anybody for the rest of the year. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I was kidding.
Roll
Humor
call,
here.
Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
Okay, thank you. And then the last, most important item of business, why I asked Carol and Nancy if they would be willing to be here, and Chris is here as well. We had a lot of conversations last week about the budget. Scott and I sat down with members of the administration was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Went over some of the special education numbers and went back and forth with KP Law, who made the recommendation that the deficit for BMS be funded using an override methodology, which was new to me, not something that I had been previously aware of, that you could do when you had excess levy. But they felt that that was the best way to preserve the excess levy capacity and the fairest, most transparent way to have the most number of voters vote on the BMS deficit. But we continued to have conversations back and forth, and on Thursday or Friday, the school had come forward with some thoughts about how we might be able to close that gap. So it was a gap of about 732,000 and change on the BMS side. And what the proposal would be to increase the school choice revenues by 225,000 and increase circuit breaker revenues by 125,000, and then to request that the town fill the rest of that gap, which is 383,000, using free cash.
That's a huge savings.
So it's meeting us in the middle. I do feel that it is a fair compromise. I know that it's not what anybody really, it doesn't make everybody happy, because obviously it's razor thin margins on the school side for their revenue estimates. It's taking a lot of free cash on our side that we intended to use next year for things like the roof, at Berlin Memorial. But the hope is that this will get us to FY25, where we will get the reimbursement in arrears for those large increases in special education numbers and get us reset correctly without having to go to the taxpayers and ask for that almost 10% increase. So this would be leaving the budget at that 4% increase that we talked about, which left that $732,000 and change deficit. I just feel it's in everybody's best interest if we can come to some type of agreement. I'm genuinely appreciative of the school committee and the school administration for, bringing this forward. I know it's not something that's been easy on anyone, but I think it would be great if we could come to some kind of an agreement to give voters some type of direction as to what, we think should happen. So that we can offset some of these expenses that, we recognize are real and are significant, without anybody having to have huge budgetary cuts or impacts. So with that, I will leave it at that.
Okay, well, this is, as we know from our last meeting, it does have a lot of similarities to what we were talking about at that time. We did approve, at least from the recommended budget, going to an increase to 8.9% increase on Tohoto and 9.1% on BMS, which resulted in a levy increase of 4% versus a levy increase of only 2.5%. And we knew that left at that time that $732,000 gap, and at that time was a discussion about having a special article funded, at a minimum of $300,000 that would be funded from free cash to be presented at town meeting. I know there was some concerns of some that if the previous budget, because there was no way to tie those articles together with the actual budget line item. There was discussion about, well, what if the school committee budget passed as is, and likewise, there's a later article that could get them an additional $300,000 that would be targeted towards the out-of-district special education. This proposal, I think, one, alleviates any of that. It does basically tie things together because it's all part of the budget. It does still have the free cash component, and I think the number we just said was $382,000 approximately.
$750.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll say $383,000 that would touch free cash. And likewise, the schools have proposed to, with their funds through school choice and circuit breaker. And I understand it's the decision for them was not an easy one, since obviously that puts their more risk on their part. But totaling $350,000 from their funds towards next year's budget, which gets us to that, again, just needing the free cash of $383,000. So that sums up where we're at, and I know we've sent the email to explain that, and now any questions on it? Since we happen to have Mary here, in case she disappears, I can open it to Mary. Any questions, any comments?
Sure. A question, and I'm directing it towards Kristen and June. If we do this with free cash funding, where are we left with remaining free cash after town meeting?
I had a feeling you might ask that question, Mary.
Of course I will.
So I actually did pull that up. Give me just a moment to pull up that spreadsheet. I should also point out that this proposal does require the school committee to vote on it. They would be taking it up tomorrow evening if it seems favorable to the FinCom tonight and the select board this evening. So that's one key piece of information that
Are
is
we going to
important
have
to know.
to get together again after that, or?
No, so I confirm with legal counsel that because the motions, you make your motions on that separate sheet that you do before town meeting, this could be added to the motion that you make as a motion on the floor. So the FinCom could actually say, when they get to that section where you're voting on the BMS budget numbers, you could say, and add the $383,000.
So we
from
can't
free
vote on
cash.
this tonight? Is that what you're telling me?
The warrant won't change. The warrant is done. We
I
have
see.
to have
Okay.
them
Yep.
reopen
Yep.
it, but the motion itself could be amended.
Okay.
Sorry, Mary, give me just 1 second here. Okay. So it actually leaves us in what I think is a reasonable place with free cash. So if you look at everything that this town meeting proposes to do with free cash, there's $58,058 in articles. That would be the $1,000 prior year bills, the $50,000 to replenish the reserve fund, and the $7,058 in that insurance restitution article. There's a $911,898 for the capital plan. $307,729 voted or proposed to go into general stabilization. I would like to reserve $307,329 to go into capital stabilization at the fall. It's too late to put that on, but we had that as a cushion in case we needed it for the fire truck. And if we add in the school 383, we take out the 25% that we're not allowed to spend, and we add that to the balance, we would roll over just over 1.1 million in free cash to next year, plus anything that's turned back by the departments.
Okay, that's helpful.
So it does eat a lot of the free cash, but our free cash number was quite high to begin with, and I would say for a community with a budget this size, having 1.1 million in free cash is generally a reasonably accepted number.
Yeah, Kristen, thanks for the detail. I was just really interested in how this matches up with the Department of Revenue recommendation, so we're good.
Yeah.
I just really needed to get to that number, what's remaining in free cash when we get done with this. And I'm assuming that we're in much better position because of the fire truck situation, the shift with
Oh,
the,
that was huge. I'm patting myself on the back.
We are. I was so
Okay,
excited
come on.
about that. And I'll just
Okay.
give you for
So-
comparison. So in my previous committee, we did a $35 million budget, and we would
Yeah.
run anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4 million in free cash, and we had a AA plus bond rating. So
Yeah.
this is actually pretty
good.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good
Yeah.
for a $16 million budget.
right, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were okay on that front, because I think it's really important to the town's finances overall that we pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
And then second thing, Kristen, you just went through the sequence of events with respect to voting. So, and I think I'm hearing that the school committee needs to vote on this arrangement first. And did I understand that correctly? or am
Not
I wrong?
first. If we're amenable to it, the FinCom and the Select Board this evening, the school committee would take it up tomorrow evening. And given if we're all on the same page, this is a motion that the FinCom could make at town meeting.
Okay, so going in, what's in the warrant going in will be the 4% that we were at last time we gathered.
Correct.
Without this, and then this would be a motion that would be added on.
Correct. And I
Okay.
did confirm with legal counsel we could do that.
Okay, so we could vote or not vote tonight on this motion. Yes, no?
I
Right.
think the school committee is looking for an indication one way or another from the FinCom and the Select Board as to whether or not they're supportive of this to aid them in making their decision.
So could we
Well,
say,
I think it's a good idea. I wouldn't want to be held to it depending on what the school committee determines tomorrow. If this is the deal, this is the deal, but I don't, do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
though?
yeah, no, and I think that as I indicated, or maybe I didn't indicate, or I meant to indicate in my email to the FinCom, this is the final number. These are the final numbers, where
Okay.
where we've discussed that it's either this or it goes back to the 4% with the deficit.
All right, thank you. That's exactly what I was asking. Thank you, Kristen.
You
Makes
got
sense. Okay. I appreciate that.
so Mary, could we, because I agree with you, I think we need to say something favorable or not favorable, so that the select board and school committee, and Kristen shaking her head, which you can't see, are aware that we are, happy with this arrangement. So I don't know how to make that, so maybe you can help me with that.
Well, I think,
What are you're asking me to make a motion, Janet?
Well, I'm not asking you. I don't think we have to make a motion. I think we have to just say that we're favorable, right? Am I understanding that
Yeah.
right?
I think it would go a long way if you were willing to make a vote that you agreed with the proposed budget amendment.
So moved. Thank you. There you go. I got it.
And just to clarify, that is then to add $383,000. Give me the exact number, Janet.
Oh, wait a minute. I get it. 382,715.
382,715 in free cash,
cash.
with the understanding that the schools would add 225 in school choice and 125 in circuit breaker revenues.
I thought for a balance of 225, it doesn't split it out, but
For a balance of 350.
yeah, balance is 350.
So that would wash our deficit of 732 away.
what does this mean then? 225 balance to be used right here.
So
Circuit breaker. Is that
ignore the very bottom, go up to Berlin Memorial. See, and you want to look at that line.
This
where it
one-
says-
this
nope,
one here?
Nope, the tan one where it says proposal.
Oh, okay.
So additional school choice
Oh, I see it.
funds.
Yep. Got it. So it's 225 for additional school choice funds and 125 for additional circuit breaker funds, Julie.
Okay.
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 So what are we? So so basically, we're saying we're voting to adding this 382 in from free cash. If you understand, the schools are adding from the school choice funds and the circuit breaker funds. The gap in the budget.
Correct.
Correct.
So that would create a balanced
New
budget.
deficit, right?
That would
Bal-
eliminate the
yep.
deficit at BMS.
Yep, okay. Because we're gonna use free cash to cover the 382, 715 versus using the free cash to cover, well, the 700 and something prior to this, correct? Am I following it?
Well, that's what would, correct. I mean, free
Okay.
cash would cover part of this. There
Yeah.
there are funds, school funds for circuit breaker and.
School choice.
School choice will close that gap.
Right. So
Do you have a lot of school choice this year?
No, not now.
It'd be nice to have some school choice in those grades that have the smaller numbers because the class, I mean, it's nice to have small classrooms, but it's also nice to have a better peer group. I just remember one of my kids having like 12 boys and 3 girls, you know? So it's nice to have that nice balance amongst them.
All right. So
So I
I'll
said
second this.
Yeah. Oh, Scott seconded on you, Mary. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what the motion is on the table. Is it
Okay.
this, is it the one-page fiscal 24 SC approved budget versus town's recommended budget?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, we're looking, this motion will be contingent on the school committee agreeing to those additional revenues that are in the tan.
And select
boxes.
board.
that is correct.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear, the motion is contingent on having the school committee
Mm-hmm.
vote on this.
Yes. So the school committee would need to vote to add the $350,000 in additional funds. And our motion really would be to add the 382,715.
Mhm.
Got it now.
Contingent on the school committee agreeing to these numbers.
Yes.
Correct.
I won't vote a yay on this unless it's contingent on the school committee's vote.
Yes, I was agreeing
That
with you,
clear?
Mary. I was just clarifying.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on it? You keeping up, Julie, with all the on the?
I
on
hope
this?
so,
Have you got it, Julie?
as much as I can.
Okay.
So, do you have any
Krista will help
comments?
you out.
I know you're spending so much time trying to keep up. I
Um,
want you to be lost.
I'm just gonna say I'm really happy
Me
to
too.
see because so many people have worked on this, and I know worked very hard, and it's been very painful, and I just really, just personally appreciate it. So I know it's not easy for anyone, and thank you.
Yes, I definitely appreciate also everything that
Yeah.
everybody's been able to come together on this.
I agree with you, Julie, and I thank you, Scott and Kristen and Carol, whoever else worked on it.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Hard work, well done. Thank you.
Nancy. Yeah.
Yeah, Nancy's here.
Sorry. I didn't mean to leave anybody out.
Oh, good.
All right. So before we happen to have any glitches and lose Mary, let's get to a vote. So roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
Janet, I.
Julie, I.
All right. Recommendation passes.
I might be able to sleep tonight, guys. Thank you.
Yay.
I might be able to finally sleep.
This is great.
All right. I did have one question while I had you here. Oh,
256.
one quick question while I still had you here.
Slow.
I noticed one thing, I wanted to get that out of the way because that was where the deficit was, but you also have a Tohoto issue because we voted and Boylston voted at a different Tohoto number. So my question to you was just in going through this, it looked like you had a plan to address that deficit as well. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
So for Tohoto, between the both towns, it's short a total of $21,215. So I'm also taking that from school choice for Tohoto to balance the budget.
What was the total there amount?
21.
$21,215.
Mhm.
Right here.
So for Berlin, that's 7,328 is what was short for Tohoto.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're actually putting in a little bit more
Yeah.
than just the 225 in
Yeah.
the school choice. I just wanted to point that out, that they've also come up on the Tohoto side to make up that difference as well.
Right.
But I don't want to confuse the BMS vote, so I wanted to
Right,
wait till we
yes.
were done with that.
Do we have to vote on this too?
No, because it doesn't
Okay.
affect the budget
Okay,
on our
okay,
end.
Okay.
And I did have a communication today, email, Eric Bros indicated that Boylston Finance Committee is meeting tonight. And his belief was that they were going to be proceeding with the same budget of March 6th going forward as they already, I don't know if they officially recommended it, but they were already leaning towards that recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work. It was hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We all got through it together, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I went out on a limb and upped that 4%, and when I got home, I was thinking I'd have to have a new accommodations for living space when I told Mike what I did.
It's tough. Yeah.
But all's good.
You can take me on as a renter. How's that?
Oh, especially for those 11 o'clock meetings.
That's
You just
right, then I
buzz
just
up
be
the
up the
street.
road.
All right.
Janet, I got a spare room, it's no problem.
Oh,
There we
good.
go. Excellent. Okay, Mary, I'm coming to your house after the FinCom meetings next winter.
All right. Yeah, it's a short drive.
Much shorter than 30
Is
minutes.
this all we had to do?
I think this is all we
That's-
had on the
And
agenda.
I accept pets too, you can bring your dogs along.
I have 3
Oh.
cuties.
I know.
All right, thanks. I'll bring the toothless wonder for sure.
My favorite.
The only other thing would be if you wanted to review the letter that we put
Oh,
out
yes.
for it. Again, obviously, there's some of the things I didn't have the exact dollar amounts, like the fire truck and stuff like that.
So we're still going in at 7 o'clock to the select board,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So in the drive, Scott put in his draft, the draft.
I know, I
report.
saw it. I saw it actually, but I.
Sorry, Mary, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. I have Scott's draft opened up on the computer here, and we need to have this in. Are we over deadline already on this?
It's going to the printer tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, tomorrow afternoon. So Scott, I could take some time later this evening and put in some red line and ship it back to you. But
Tempting.
basically, thank you. There's a lot of detail here. It's
Yeah.
good. I got stumbled a bit on the very first sentence. That
Okay.
we're increasing town spending by 11.4% over fiscal 23. Is that, are we talking operating and capital? What is that 11.4?
Well-
It's a new number to
I
me.
thought it was 9.
Well, we can make sure that it matches what, I was going by which I think is actually still accurate. I don't, well,
It is 11, that includes the capital, excuse me.
Okay.
That includes the capital for the schools.
yes, this would,
So I want to suggest that you might want to break it down and say that rather than throw the 11 out, because it's a number that's hard to swallow.
right,
I think,
well,
especially in
exactly.
the first sentence. Just if you could say that it's both operating and capital expenses, that might help.
Well, if
Might
I,
not.
let me see if I just do my little magic and take out the capital, what our increase comes down to 6.7%.
I would be much happier with that, and then speak about the capital separately, because you do give a nod in there, Scott, to people, the town department's getting money back into the budget, and therefore we're a strong position on this capital spend.
Right.
And I'd rather have us lead with a number that's a little more palatable. Because as I said, I couldn't figure out where the 11. Now it is. I kind of assumed that it include the capital, and that really changes the.
You have to put.
Well, it includes part of the capital, right? I mean, specifically is the schools capital
Yeah.
on
Correct.
that.
And the big difference is that is all coming out of free cash, and the increase is 400,000 for our BMS from 23 to 24, and it is almost 150,000, I think. So you're talking over 500,000.
Right there, and there was
increase in capital.
also some from the mitigation funds, the increase right for the additional police officer salary, which is only half a year. That also shows on that same number there.
It does, and you're right, that is coming out of the mitigation money. That's 262. Let's see.
I forget what the exact increase was
What
from
do
the
we have
previous
to,
year.
do we have to vote on,
262,297.
do we have to vote on this? No.
No, I
Just
think
wanted
it's
us-
just if you
okay.
want input.
I want,
okay.
yes, I want.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Biggest thing, the hardest part to review this is looking for, I believe, is where I completely left something out that you think should be pointed out.
I
don't
think
want-
you've done more detail than we've done in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very detailed, Scott.
The
I just have
stabilization
one-
fund, you can plug
I would
that,
say like
Kristen
maybe
can
something
plug
like
that number
difficult
in for you
instead
now,
of
'cause we
tedious,
know what that
because
is.
tedious
Yeah.
sounds kind of,
I was at the thesaurus today with a few of these things. so-
yeah, it just, it's,
729.
Yes, there are certain ones I was like, well, how could I, it sounds too
It's-
negative
yes.
or,
it's putting a value judgment where I don't think you mean a value judgment.
I mean, just like the one I labored over was, the fact that things have changed on us during this process.
Yeah.
And one of them, with the schools, obviously, with the extra out-of-district students, I
Mm-hmm.
labored over the exact wording to make it look like, not that we were being surprised or anything like that, but I forget exactly how, I think I put it into the summary.
Yeah, I think you have it down here.
There's just 2 points on special education. One is that the out-of-district tuition jumped 14%. That's key. The other is the number of students for Berlin Memorial increase. Those are the only 2 points you really need in there. And then that's reflected in, I don't know if we actually have a dollar figure for how much is special ed. I don't remember if we ever got to that point, but really those are the two drivers overall.
He has that
Yes.
in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I didn't put a dollar amount with each of those things, but I did try to separate out, and again, I didn't put the dollar amount so that the primary cost increase of all those was the, out-of-district special education tuition. But I didn't put a dollar amount because it's,
Understood.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a nice job, Scott.
Yeah, that was my only other comment. You said there was something you were struggling with, if I can help, or not. You only had the 2 comments on your.
Yeah, there
report.
was, where was it here? Let's
It's in the
see,
drive. Why can't I find it in the drive? I only have it in the email.
let's see.
It's called 2023 FinCom Budget and Report.
I know it, I got it, but I can't. I can only find it in the Word doc.
It isn't only in a Word doc.
But it's in the drive, so you can
In the
change
drive in a
it.
Word
Yeah,
doc, yep.
Yeah.
Should be in the drive in a Word doc. Hold on. Am I losing my marbles here and I didn't put it in? That's entirely possible.
Scott, what was the part that was troubling you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find, unless I finally just said I dumped it. Let me see here. It was, let me see
No, I
here.
can't find it. Word doc, 23 budget. Is it this one?
Well, maybe they need to learn and go to the conference.
Oh, it's actually the first paragraph. When I was getting, actually, I have getting to this budget has been a long
So.
and difficult process. I got difficult in the wrong process.
We're not editors, so we can't fix it.
Difficult process as inflation, maintenance, delayed maintenance, it actually should say.
Yeah, you have delayed in here.
Yeah, and I accidentally had, and last minute circumstances at BBRSD. So my difficult part was putting in that last, the terminology of saying last minute circumstances at BBRSD, which is the, the students at BMS, which obviously were at a very late step. I used different wording in there at times, but I wanted to make sure it was not nothing of a fault of anybody on that particular thing. I wanted it to be as neutral as possible.
Right. That's very, definitely thoughtful, Scott.
And that's why I came up with at the end, was saying last minute circumstances. So I don't know if there's a better, but if you have a better idea, but that's what I was striving for.
Think so?
You might say an unexpected increase in special education costs.
Yes, or an additional unexpected, because that was, right,
Unusual increase or unexpected or something like that.
Unanticipated?
Unanticipated.
Yeah.
All right.
Or simply increase in special education costs. Unanticipated at the beginning of the budget cycle. I don't know, that's a lot of words. But
yes, exactly. I was trying to keep it as simple as possible, but
Yeah.
And sometimes it does require more words.
So can you put the stabilization fund, mine's still question mark, I don't have it edited.
Oh, yes,
so
I had to,
can't-
yes,
can't
I
do
will
that. So
clear
it's
that because
307, what did we say, 307?
307,729.
Yep. Scott, the only other thing, I think the report is really good. If you want me to proofread it, I'll proofread it or not. It's up to you. Tell me. And I think that June will look at your numbers, right?
It goes to print tomorrow.
Yes. Yes, you can proofread it. Definitely proofread it for me.
All right.
It needs to be proofread and done by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning because it's going out to print. That's the verbiage going on around us that you can't hear.
I think I could just.
I heard it, Janet. I heard it.
I also
Maybe
use
it's so
rough numbers. I will go down to the dollar on these things. So I think 307K is good for stabilization, right?
People aren't going to read it.
Yes.
I think the numbers are fine the way they are.
Okay, and I will read it again in the morning once everybody's edits have come through and
Okay.
check everything.
Well, I can't edit it, so
Yeah, I
don't know why,
Never
but
did
it's okay.
permission.
I don't need to.
Yeah, I'm looking at the copy Scott sent in the email, so it's a document I can edit, so
All right.
it's a Word document.
Before we adjourn to the select board meeting, June had one thing for you.
Okay.
Only if you're okay with that. Do they have to vote on it or no?
Oh, what?
On this letter? No.
Because it's coming
We
from
don't
all
have to
of
vote
them.
on it, do we?
It's up to you guys. if
Do
you
we
want
ever
to
vote on this, Mary? The report?
No, it's always been last minute enough that we're just glad to get it done.
Okay. I love her comments. All right.
The only other thing that I had was just a heads up that we may need a reserve fund transfer for fuel oil. We're right now, as of today, we are down to 5,696.3 left in the account. So as long as it doesn't get too cold and we don't have to get any more than 1 or 2 loads, we should be okay. But also, we need to keep that in the summer too for hot water. So,
How much is left in it?
say 5,500. And there for a while, there are a couple of months, like last month, it was 8,000. I mean, it's 8,000 about the end of March.
Do you don't want us to do this now? You're just
I'm
giving
not
us an
asking for it
FY.
now just because
Okay.
I don't want to ask for it if we don't really need it.
Okay.
So but I
Got
wanted
it.
to give you a heads up that
Okay.
we did well, but not.
Oh, I got all of it. I trusted you. In Mary and Scott.
Plus, we also have some money on there that you kind of listed out as a possibility on that,
Yeah.
where end of year stuff would be adjusted.
Yeah.
It was already accounted
That,
for.
But this year it doesn't look like we're gonna have to worry about snow and ice either, so.
So we get that
But
May blizzard
We've
that
had,
you
we've
just
had one in
caused.
April/May, so.
We had one in May.
I do remember having to get reimbursements in the next.
My mother
fiscal
had
year.
me running out and shaking the snow off her tree with these pink blossoms on it.
Mary, are you joining us for select board or are you running?
I'm gonna cut out. I don't think you need me. You know,
Nope.
if you need a quorum, you still got one, and I think I'm happy with where things are at.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
thanks
Thank you for
everybody
doing this on your vacay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mary.
All right.
Okay,
See
thank you.
everybody. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Motion to adjourn?
No, because
Well,
we're
we're
going, you
saying
can't, no,
adjourn
no,
for
no.
this,
I'm
because-
No, except-
asking, I
no.
wasn't making it, but
Because
don't we
we-
have to adjourn to go
No,
to theirs?
no,
We
no.
stay?
No,
no.
we could just walk over there
Oh,
and we can just take our break.
But also
Well, we got
because,
5 minutes if you need to stop off any place.
well, also because we changed the agenda.